Stand up, stand out, stand strong. A 30-day guide to navigate life when the shift hits the fan. Chapter 12, Day 12. When we fight to be right, we will always feel wrong. There is a strong emphasis placed on right and wrong in our society. It is everywhere we look. The pressure to be right and the fear of being wrong are palpable. There is so much shame attached to being wrong that we learn to fight to be right. The problem is, when we fight to be right, we will always feel wrong. There are always two sides to every story. The two main perspectives held are right and wrong. I am right or they are right. If I am right, they are wrong. If I am wrong, they are right. We are taught discerning between right and wrong is black and white, but it is not. We can't both be right, can we? We can't both be wrong, can we? There is a gray area of interpretation, experience, programming, and intuition that influences both sides. Now, I'm not interested in getting into a debate here about specific situations. My intention is to simply challenge our programmed minds to try on another perspective and explore the gray area a bit. It takes a willingness to be wrong to even begin to try on another possible perspective. So I invite you to be open and willing to be wrong, even if it is just while you're reading this. This will be uncomfortable for some people and excruciatingly painful for others. Very few, if any, will easily embrace this idea. Our fight to be right is deeply rooted in our instincts to protect ourselves and others. It is like a mama grizzly bear instinct. So be gentle with yourself as we explore and unravel this concept. Some people who hate being wrong, and even when they know they are wrong, they fight to be right. I remember talking to a guy about Egypt, and I said I have always wanted to go to Africa, but that I was just not sure I would go to Egypt first. He told me, "Egypt is not in Africa." I responded, "Yes, it is." He proceeded to spend 10 more minutes trying to convince me that Egypt was not in the continent of Africa, and I was baffled by his stern stance. I finally took out a map. Yes, it was an old school map in an atlas, as this happened before the internet was born. I pointed to Egypt, and it clearly showed its borders were in fact within the African continent. I expected him to say, "You're right," but instead he said, "Well, that map is wrong." I was shocked. The proof was right there in front of him, but he wasn't willing to stand down and admit he was wrong. Instead, he stood solidly in his stance. I am right, and everyone and everything else is wrong. I let it go and walked away. I knew it was a battle I couldn't win, even if I was willing to take up arms and fight. I chose to agree to disagree, but silently, because I knew even if I said that, he would continue his fight to change my mind, take his side, and agree he was right. Our fight to be right can skew our perception. We see what we want to see, which is not always actually what is happening. We can fight so hard to be right that we aren't willing to try on another perspective. We aren't willing to hear anyone else's opinion. We are right, and that is that. End of story. The problem is when we fight to be right, we are closed-minded and often blind to see anything else. If our fight to be right is instinctual, then what are we protecting? We are protecting ourselves from embarrassment, from being ridiculed and shamed. For many people, being wrong leads to punishment and can even feel like imprisonment. Being judged as wrong means we are guilty. That can lead to a life sentence, even if it's only in our minds. We condemn ourselves and strive to prove our innocence. We can turn that energy into trying to fight to be right in another area so that we can try and make up for being judged wrong. It is a self-destructive cycle fed by societal pressure. It is a battle that is never won by either side. At this point, especially on social media, it doesn't matter which side we stand for. There will always be a strong opposition telling us we are wrong. So as long as we are fighting to be right, we will always feel wrong, and the battle will continue. We will always feel wrong because in their eyes, we are wrong, even if we are right. I've decided to stop fighting to be right. I've stopped trying to prove anything anymore, to others and more importantly to myself. I stopped trying to prove anything anymore, to others and more importantly to myself. I'm done fighting everyone and everything. I dropped my weapons and my armor, and I surrendered my need to be right. This is still a work in progress. Every once in a while, my need to be right rises up like a forceful mother bear, and I have to take a deep breath and declare to myself, I am totally willing to be wrong. When I am totally willing to be wrong, it ends my fight to be right, and it gives no further ammunition to the other person. Being willing to be wrong removes the drive from my ego mind, and I soften into observation without judgment. I am defenseless, and in my defenselessness, I am free. Defenselessness frees my mind, heart, and soul. It creates space for me to make a conscious choice for love, and I see everyone through a different lens. It is no longer a lens of guilty until proven innocent. It is no longer a lens of right and wrong. It is no longer a lens of judgment. It is a lens of love and compassion. I can see someone else's fear beyond their fight to be right. I can see their driving force. And beyond all of that, I can see their innocence. I can see their call for love. They are not really fighting to be right. They are calling for love. And in my defenselessness, I can answer it fully and wholeheartedly. Sometimes that looks like no action and I say nothing. Sometimes that means I agree to disagree. And sometimes I might even say, you're right. I trust my intuition and am willing to play my part and extend love in the way they need it at that time. I see their tender heart and meet them right there in their wound and love them. Whether they are right or wrong, I simply meet them with love. It's not about changing them or their stance, but changing the way I see them. I have witnessed some beautiful miracles in those tender moments of defenselessness, and each one makes living in defenselessness even more worthwhile. So the next time you find yourself fighting to be right, I invite you to drop into your heart and release your need to be right. Look underneath to see what is driving you and witness your own wound as you meet yourself with love first. Then turn that love outward and shine it on the other person. Be willing to see another perspective. Be willing to see their call for love and meet that call the best you can with as much love as you possibly can gather within yourself. Then watch the miracles unfold right before your eyes.